This one thing will decide the next mayor of America's third largest city. It's a long-standing rule of politics that being perceived as soft on crime can be a candidate's undoing. Chicago's mayoral election is putting that rule to the test. It's a long-standing rule of politics that being perceived as soft on crime can be a candidate's undoing. At least that's what we've been told was the lesson from the Willie Horton ad aired in the lead-up to the 1988 Bush-Dukakis presidential election. Analysts and politicos have already suggested that voters' perception of Mayor Lori Lightfoot soft on crime led to her first round of Chicago's mayoral race month. The true test of, however, will come on Tuesday, when Chicago voters' perspectives on the former CEO of the city's public school system is running as the law and ordering the public safety records of Lightfoot and Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Vallas has also expressed concern about the bail reform provisions of the Just Illinois Safety Act. Cook County for the first, Brandon Johnson, is a Safety Act proponent. He has also been critical of policing and his approach to law enforcement. A new Manhattan Institute poll of Chicagoers suggests that these differences could decide the race. The poll found that 54% of Chicago voters and percent of black voters cited crime and public safety most important issue, and that clear majorities feel that the city is unsafe and that crime is on the rise, 57% and 8%, respectively. The poll also shows that voters overwhelmingly disapprove, by a margin of 27 points, of the recently re-elected state's attorney Foxx, that 71% of voters want the city to hire more police, with half, 49%, saying the city should hire a lot more, and that clear majorities believe punishments for criminals are too lenient, 55%, and favor stronger punishments for repeat offenders, 79%. Data from years past, highlighted in the first chapter of my book, Criminal Injustice, also show that the parts of the city hit hardest by crime are the mostly black and Latino neighborhoods on the city's south and west sides. In 2019, before 2020's 55% murder spike, Chicago's 10 most dangerous community areas, which on average were almost 96% black Latino, already had a collective homicide rate of nearly 62 per 100,000. This figure was well above the city and statewide rates that year, which were 18.2 and 6.5, respectively. In some of those community areas like West Garfield Park, 131 per 100,000, and Englewood, 78 per 100,000, the homicide rates were even higher. These numbers contrast dramatically with the city's safer enclaves. The 28 Chicago neighborhoods with 1 or 0 homicides in 2019, which housed 264,000 more residents, saw just 11 murders in all, 250 fewer murders than the 10 most dangerous neighborhoods. All this would seem to suggest a clear and relatively easy path to victory for Vallas. And yet, the poll also highlights why, despite the top-line results and recent crime trends, the outcome of the mayoral election is far from certain. A plurality of voters expressed support for the Safety Act's bail reform component, 44%, versus 39% expressing opposition, and a majority, 53%, voiced support for recent restrictions placed on the ability of Chicago police to engage in foot pursuits, a policy enacted after the shooting of 13-year-old Adam Toledo by a Chicago police officer during a foot pursuit. Perhaps most notable is the finding that, while the poll reports a 5-point lead for Vallas among voters who've decided whom they'll support, about 1 in 6, 17%, remain undecided. Those undecideds are more likely to be black, female, young, and from the city's south side, all groups among whom Johnson enjoys advantages, and who seem more skeptical of Vallas' law and order message. Indeed, undecided voters express more support for a social spending approach to the crime problem than they did for one focused on enforcement. The old wisdom about avoiding the soft on crime label, then, may be due for an update. Even in a race in which concerns about public safety are at the forefront of voters' minds, there's no guarantee that a tough on crime message will win the day. What we're learning as jurisdictions around the country continue their push to weaken the criminal justice system even amid rising crime is that we can no longer take as a given the political lessons of the late 1980s, that voters understand crime as a problem that turns primarily on enforcement. Regardless of whether Vallas emerges victorious, it seems clear that we critics of the reformers' approach have more work to do. And given the violent crime rates in Chicago's most dangerous neighborhoods, we must work quickly.